Hey Witch, and welcome back to Witch Hunt. I'm Panda Bennett, and today on the trial of Beth Wade of Fundamental Magic, we will be discussing the business of witchcraft. So, Beth, I'm so glad that you could join us today. I have I have lots of your products, but I have your Oracle deck that I absolutely love. And yeah, I'm just super excited that you could be here today. I love your hat.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's cute, right? I still have my hat that my mother made me when I was 5. I guess it was foreshadowing. I was a witch for Halloween, and she made me a hat for she used to make all our costumes, and I still have it.
That's
Doesn't quite
amazing.
it doesn't quite fit my head anymore, but I still have it tucked away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for asking me to come and talk with you. I'm always, especially now with so much isolation and quarantining, it's great to be able to talk to somebody besides my cat and my husband. So.
Right? I know that's how I feel. When we first came on and you were like, oh, you look nice. I'm like, yeah, well, we're in the middle of a panini and this is the only time that I get to get dressed is like when I come to my basement. So yeah, this is,
right.
We'll finish here and then I'll put my pajamas back on to like go out and purchase wine. So
yeah, I put on a little bit of makeup. I was like, do I remember how to do this? Oh my God.
Right? I know, in the middle of a panoramic.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us, do you subscribe to any labels? Do you call yourself a witch, a mystic, a seeker, anything like that? Just tell us about you, any labels you subscribe to or don't like. Yeah.
I'm just a witch, I've been doing this a long time, and I started practicing witchcraft as a reaction to my Catholic upbringing back in like 1987. And back then you were just a witch. There weren't a lot of labels. So that's just what I call myself. If pressed, I'll say I'm eclectic, just because I don't really subscribe to one, like really closely to one particular tradition or another. I say that I've dabbled in Wicca because I didn't really know anything about Wicca until about a decade ago. A friend of mine asked me about it, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And so she told me about Wicca, and I looked into it, and I dabbled with it. I think, again, just having grown up Catholic and gone to Catholic school, there was something about the Wicca tradition that felt comfortable in its structure.
Yes.
Because it's very like, okay, like the wheel of the year, like this is all, what to expect. There's no surprises as far as the practice of it goes. But it speaks to me, but it doesn't speak to me. So I take what I like and I forget the rest. That's been my approach pretty much along the way. But that's been my approach. So whatever seems to fit for me is what I keep, and what doesn't feel right or doesn't resonate with me, I kind of.
So I don't know where you're located at.
I am just outside of Chicago.
Just Illinois. Outside of Chicago. Okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Do you have a coven? Is it just you?
No, we call it a circle of sisters. I have 3 other women. Actually, I grew up in the city and I just moved out here to a suburb a couple of years ago. And so we all we grew up in the same neighborhood. We went to the same schools. We knew all the same people. And we always knew that we were outside the main track of what was going on in our Catholic school. And then we kind of drifted apart, as you do, in early adulthood. And then we all kind of came back and found each other and started getting together for full moons and the different Sabbats. The Sabbats to me are just a really great excuse to get together and be witchy.
Yeah.
So we'll wear our best witch outfits. Samhain is our highest of holy days, and we'll all wear our best witch costumes and cackle and scare the neighbors and
I love it. I always say that, like, for me, that like we're food witches, so like the Sabbats are like a reason to get together and like eat food.
Oh yeah, that's the most important thing when we're gonna get together. It's like, okay, who's making what? What are we gonna eat? What are we gonna drink?
Yeah, like other people are like, oh, I'm a green witch, I'm an eclectic witch, and I'm like, I'm a thick witch, and we're gonna get together and eat. We're gonna get together and eat food.
Exactly, especially in Chicago, in the Midwest, we like to eat.
Yes.
Okay? Winters are rough. We like to eat.
Yes, I know. So tell us then, what does your path kind of center on? I know you said that you dabble in a little bit of everything, but yeah, tell us about what really nourishes you.
I would say a lot of shadow work. That's been my new jag the last couple of years is shadow work. I think that's just maybe a product of me getting older, and wanting to understand myself more and accept myself more. And also to understand the world around me more, better. I think, we can't start to empathize with other people and understand where other people are coming from if we don't know who we are and where we're coming from. So, everything starts with ourselves. So that's, that's where I'm at right now, is a lot of shadow work on myself, and just really like divine feminine, like that female empowerment. I really strongly, firmly believe that, circle is the opposite of patriarchy, right? People think that matriarchy is the opposite of patriarchy. It's like, no, we don't want any archy. that the archy is the problem, you know. So
No
it's
archy,
like,
no archy at all.
no archy, circle. Everyone's, you can see everybody. Everybody's on the same plane. So, so that's one of the things that I'm doing now and pursuing now is hosting monthly women's circles, with that goal of trying to, try to get women to be empowered and feel empowered. And my previous career, I was a licensed massage therapist, and I had a women's wellness spa in downtown Chicago. Unfortunately, I had to close last year because of COVID related reasons. But my mission there was to help women practice radical self-care and take care of themselves and put themselves first. And I'm going to continue that work, hopefully doing these women's circles, because I really feel deep in my bones that the more well-adjusted women we have that are madly in love with themselves and each other, the better this world is going to be. The men have had their chance. They fucked it up real good. So step aside.
I absolutely love that. I think that especially so many people are like either intimidated or offended or put off by the term witch. But it's just like I'm like, no, there's magic in you, and I want you to find that. I want that for you. And witchcraft is really just this beautiful journey of getting to know self and
Yes.
just embracing all of that, and then living from this beautiful, powerful place of authenticity. And so I'm just like, no, you are a witch. There's magic in you, and there's magic in you. And yeah, it
Yes.
just, yeah. So absolutely. I totally get that.
Yeah. I would say for me, witchcraft over the years, it's become about female empowerment, because really that's what it is. It's about women knowing their power, owning their power, and standing in it and using it.
And I would also add that, like, or it's my belief. I guess I always speak for myself. I don't speak for other people, but I speak for myself when I say that I've always looked at divine feminine as these sacred qualities, that it doesn't matter he, she, they, that we all possess those qualities within us, and we can call on them at any time. So we could all connect to that divine feminine or the divine masculine, because they're just sacred qualities that everyone has. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just energy. It's just to me, you get stuck in the binary. We're so into the binary in this culture, but for me at least, saying divine feminine, divine masculine, that just describes a quality of the energy rather than genitalia. Rather than gender or anything like that. To me, it's for me to have a conversation about about those different types of energy. It helps me to kind of put them in a framework.
Yeah, and it's just, yeah, it's so important because there's so many people that are like, oh, I don't do divine feminine work, or I don't do divine masculine work, and it's like, well, but we all have it, and you have those qualities, those sacred qualities. Yeah, exactly. Like if you need them, and we should all be in touch. I mean, that's a part of being whole, is being in touch with all of those things, So yeah, I think that that's super important. So I know that you run the women's group on Facebook, right? What's the name of the group?
It's called the Goddess Circle.
The Goddess Circle. Okay. Yeah. And then you also have a huge business. I mean, you have oracle cards, you create candles. I mean, every witchy good and wear that you could ever want. So like, tell us about that.
Fundamental Magic with a CK. I have to, people look for me without the K. Yeah, that actually started, gosh, out of my own frustration of trying to find certain magical items and tools and decorations and things like that. And it started back in like 2006, 2007. I actually have it sitting over there. I could go grab it if I really wanted to, but I made I wanted a box to hold my abundant supply of incense in, because I have a little problem with incense. And so I just like, it was just everywhere. And I'm like, I need like a good witchy box to put all this incense in. Couldn't find one. I said, well, I'll make my own, I guess. So I did. And I was so taken with myself and what I had made that I actually brought it to the next circle that I had with my circle sisters, and I showed them, and they were like, that's fucking awesome. I want one too, so I'm like, okay. So, and then, so I started making them for my friends, and they're like, you should sell these. I'm like, I should. So that's really how it started. And from there, and still to this day, a lot of what I put out there is because I want it, like, because I think it's cool and I like it and I like the way it looks, or I have a need for something and I'm not finding what it is that I want. So I'm like, well, which is very, punk rock, witchcrafty, like I'm just gonna make it myself, DIY it. So, and if other people think it's awesome and cool, that's great. I love it, but it really comes down to me just having a creative outlet.
Yeah.
Which has been really, really nice. And I kind of go in fits and starts where I'll have like this like lightning bolt of an idea. And then I'll be like all manic about making whatever it is and producing and creating. And then I kind of calm down, and then I'll get another really great idea. And so that's kind of, it's been up and down. I had my Etsy shop down for a couple of years. Just because I wasn't feeling it, and I was really out of my magic at that point in my life, for a variety of reasons that we won't get into. But it really reflected in me just not being creative and not making my magic and not really producing anything, not putting anything out into the world. So
yeah. Well, and I think that's so beautiful, number one. Number two, I think it's so important that people understand that everyone, whether you can draw or you can't draw, or you can sing or you can't sing, every single one of you holds the ability to create something from your heart space. And whatever it is you're creating, whether you sew or you sing or you cook or you read or you write poetry, or whatever it is that you do, like that, that's your magic. That's magic, and it's a part of you, and it's beautiful, and it's something that nourishes and harvests that creative energy. And that but your creativity, just like your magic, will wax and wane. Like you will go through that, and it doesn't mean, did you hear that? My voice just cracked like I was 12 years old. That was crazy. Yeah. But like it'll come and go, and you'll do these ups and downs, and that's completely, it's normal, because it's life, and you get busy and you get drained and you get depression, or you have anxiety, or you have 3 kids, or that's just me, but like there's lots of things, and it'll go, that creativity will be like just floodgates open, and you'll be creating, and you'll feel magical, and you'll feel shiny, and then it'll just totally drop out on you, and you'll be like, I'm wearing the same set of pajamas for the 3rd day in a row, and I don't feel magical, but you're still valid. And I mean, it happens to all of us. You know what I mean?
And I think, because you were asking me earlier about labels, and I think that that's where some of this can, like with social media and stuff, where people have this idea of, oh, if I don't, dance naked underneath the moon and howl and, clutch the right, magic rock in my hand, then I'm a bad witch. It's like, no, you're not. It's, it's okay. Like, and that to me is one of the beauties of that path of the craft, is that it is elastic, and you can make it everything. It can be everything that you need it to be, and the magic accepts you for who you are and who you are not at all times.
Yes. And that, I mean, that's totally everything you just said, like 10,000, 1,000,000%. Like the magic will meet you where you're at, whatever you've got going on, like that's still your craft. But speaking about howling, so did you see that last year? So I can't believe it's been a year of Queen Corona now, but when COVID and the lockdown and all that just got started, and like whatever the big Facebook group that started, and it was like howl at 7 p.m. like across the world.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
like I started doing, so I joined that group and actually started doing that because I was super, super like to the nth time locked down because I was pregnant. And so then I was high
Mm.
risk. And so I couldn't go or anywhere, do anything. And so like I would go out at 7 p.m. and do like the howl and like holy fuck, that was nourishing. That was good. So
Yeah,
like
that primal scream therapy stuff.
that might have to
Sometimes,
continue.
yeah, sometimes there's nothing like screaming it out, you
Yeah.
know?
So I mean, even if you are howling at the moon, if you're not howling at the moon, I mean, I definitely think everyone should try it at least once.
Yeah,
It's good. It's yeah, it's nourishing. But yeah,
yes, yes.
definitely. Um, so for daily practice wise, do you have any daily rituals? How are you using magic daily to empower yourself or nourish yourself? What do you have going on?
Um, Gosh, I mean, I've been doing it for so long that it's just what I do. So I mean, it's like woven into so many aspects of my life to try to like pull that out. I mean, the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is, I do a gratitude of, oh, I'm awake. I woke up. Like, okay, all right, let's do this. And I do a little blessing over my magic juice, my coffee. And I have lots of different cauldron mugs. I see you got that really cute mug. So like there, like the cauldron is, it's the womb, right? It's this magical vessel that holds all kinds of yummy stuff. And whether it's a baby or coffee,
Right?
it's all good, yummy stuff. So I do that, I mean, we moved into this house a couple years ago. We bought this house, and the previous owner did not take care of. We have a quarter acre. Did not take care of the land at all. So for me, that's become a big part of. I guess I'm a green witch. That's become a big part of um, of my life is getting the invasive species out. I'm doing a micro prairie in the front. I'm trying to get rid of as much grass as I can, replacing it with micro prairie, getting native pollinator plants in, eco-friendly, growing a clover grass instead of a regular grass. And so that's become a big part of my magic is just working this land and bringing it back to life. And I have a friend who I don't want to say she's psychic, but she's tuned in, she's tuned into spirit. And I was having the potential of some illegal fallout last year from my business closing. And I said, I'm so worried about my house. Like, like I don't want to lose my property. And she's like, you've put so much magic into that land. She's like, your land she's like, it's protecting you. Like you're good. Like you've put so much magic into that no one's going to be able to touch it. And nobody did. Nobody has. Nobody can.
That's amazing.
So I
What's
would say that, yeah. Yeah. My cat, of course, she's my little medium.
I absolutely love. So I definitely feel like people like don't get to talk about their magic and what they're doing enough and their path. And what I love is when people come on here and they get to talking and then they're like, wait, I'm a green witch. You know what I mean? Like I love the realizations that people get from just getting to sit down and talk about the
Yeah.
things and the magic that they're creating and using on the daily. And so I just think that that's so, and like even for me, like people have taught me things that I'm like, oh, I might be a chaos witch. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So yeah, definitely. I think that's really cool.
And some kitchen witching too, I mean, I'll use specific, I mean, we use herbs all the time in cooking, but sometimes I'm doing it very intentionally and I'm saying things as I'm throwing that basil in there because mama needs some money, kind of thing. So, and then just I think the crafting that I'm doing, just the things that I'm making, like to me, that's me making my magic. And it's me creating these things. And, one of the things that I want to do with fundamental magic is to help modern witches live their best witchy life. And, I see a lot of, people on social media talking about, witch aesthetic and plastic witches and, and all this stuff. And I'm like, really? Like, who cares? Like, you know what? When I started practicing back in the 80s, it was my response to the satanic panic. If you've heard about the satanic panic back in the 80s, right? So the satanic panic started, and I was like, oh, me rebellious. I started smoking when I was 12, flipping everybody off, chip on my shoulder for no reason. But so I heard about this satanic panic stuff starting to go on. I'm like, that sounds really interesting.
Please sign me up for that.
Yeah. What is that? I need to know more. Because my whole thing is, if you're not, whatever it is you're doing, if it's not going to make your mother cry, you're not doing it right. So
I'm doing it right.
Yeah, exactly. So, although at this point my mother just rolls her eyes. So I got my hands on Satanic Bible at LaVey, Anton LaVey. And so I'm reading it and I'm like, this is a little much. Like this is, I'm like 15, 16, like, oh, this is over the top, like freaking me out kind of thing. But I like the idea of being something that's different than what I know. So that's actually what led me to witchcraft. I go, okay, so how can I take this idea of finding my own path that's outside of this Catholic path that doesn't scare me so much, because that stuff scared me. So so that's why I found witchcraft. And there's a store here in Chicago called the Occult Bookstore. It's been around for a really long time. There was no internet back then. So my friends and we got on the train and we went down to the Occult Bookstore, and I got a tarot deck. I mean, I still have it, and it was a used deck, so it was printed in the 70s. And I got this book, and I just started like doing spells. Oh. And it was freaky. There was some blood. there was candles. There was like having to go outside and under the moon and do different things and bury things and all that kind of stuff. But to me, it became fun trying to find these supplies, because Etsy didn't exist, Google didn't exist. Like, where am I going to get these things? I got to get this specific herb for this wacky thing that I'm going to do next weekend. How do I get it? So, that's when I've discovered the world of like botanicas. Those are always really great place to go and find herbs and incense and things like that. So, that's,
Yeah. And I mean, that ties into so many things. And that's a huge part of why I wanted to start this series, because well, first of all, that goes back to like, we just did an episode about gatekeeping. Like, just use your energy for you. Like, there's no use, like, even if people are just for aesthetic, let them be about aesthetic, because everyone starts somewhere, and maybe that'll be what sparks for them to be like, hey, I actually I feel really oppressed in my traditional religion, and this, seems exciting or empowering. Everybody starts somewhere, you know what I mean? Just because when they get started, they're not, like super advanced, or they're not at the
25th level witch.
Yeah, at the, at the meat and bones of the history of this and that, they might start out a little plastic. Like, that's totally fine. Let them be, because everyone's journey is different. It's whatever like people need. Witchcraft is really just whatever you need at the time. And so that's the whole part of like this series, is just to like, show people like there's all different, everyone started somewhere, everything is, everyone practices differently, and just find what lifts you up, find what empowers you, what speaks to you. Definitely. I get that.
Yeah, gatekeeping drives me nuts. I've seen it in a lot, and I didn't even know that was its name until a couple years ago. And I've seen it, in the witchcraft world and in other places too. And I'm always like, this really bothers me. Like, why do you care? Like, why are you giving this person a hard time? They're asking questions. They're just starting out. Like, who are you to tell somebody that they can or can't do something, especially of a spiritual nature? And also I think too, like the aesthetic, like it's making it more acceptable also. Like I've
Yeah.
always been pretty out and proud about who I am, but I will tell you that there have been a couple times in my life where I have been very quiet
Yeah.
about my spiritual path, because I know that it won't end well, if people get their way. So so I think just it's like destigmatizing it. I mean, there's never
Yeah.
anything wrong with destigmatizing something and making it more acceptable, palatable for, mainstream, as I like to
Well,
call them, the cream of wheat, the
yeah.
cream of wheat people.
Yeah, and these, I mean, yeah, and it's introducing, it's planting those seeds, and these younger
Mm-hmm.
people that are coming in, they're not messing around with Christianity, or they're not, you know what I mean? Or they are, and they are also practicing witchcraft, and they care about the earth, and they care about their
Yeah.
classmates, and they care about racial issues, and they care about capitalism, and like, let's not alienate that. Like, we want change. Like, so let's bring it all together. I hope that's kind of what comes
Yes.
up from this series. Like, I really, from like my heart of hearts, that's what I want, because just seeing that, like, for my own children, like, I want better for them. I want different things. I want more inclusive things, diversity, equality, just, yeah. So
You want
yeah.
circle. You want
Yes.
circle.
Yes. And so with the gatekeeping, for me, like, that's where I get so upset with it. And then also, like, I'm just like, why aren't you using, like, you deserve that energy? Like, take that energy and spend it on you. Like, instead of running someone else down or telling them what they can and cannot do, like, use that energy for you. It's all energy, and you're wasting it. Like, stop it, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. I've had some people contact me because I sell things, and they think that I shouldn't. How dare I charge for charge for my candles? And I'm sure you get that with your readings sometimes.
Hmm.
People are like, wow, how dare you charge? And it's like, and that happens again coming from the spa world. There's this whole poor healer syndrome that's out there. And I think there's this poor witch syndrome that's out there, where it's like, no, you need that exchange. Money is just energy.
Yeah.
And you need that it's not good or bad. You need that exchange, I feel like. And if you're providing a service, or you're creating something, there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting paid for that. Absolutely nothing at all. Because
Yeah.
if I don't make any money selling my candles, then what am I supposed to do?
I mean,
You
that's
know?
one of the most
Yeah.
bizarre, like, that's, yeah, the weird things that I don't know who started that, where it came from, but like,
Yeah.
I always like, I mean, it's just bizarre. But so I'm like, okay, so like, I
It's
shouldn't
like people are
charge.
bitter. Like they're
Yeah. It is
yeah.
weird, and it's weird. And I said, well, you're not going to go to the dentist and be like, you shouldn't charge for this because it's your gift. And you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, Larry, you're a plumber, so you should like come unclog my toilet for free. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
no. And like, I always tell people, I'm like, okay, like, it is spiritual work. I fully, like, I take it very seriously. I'm very connected to it. Like, I put a lot of energy into it. But as long as snacks and diapers cost money, these tarot
Mm-hmm.
readings are also going to cost money. Like,
Yeah.
it's a service, it's energy. I have bills to pay, like, no
Mm-hmm.
different than you. So, like,
Exactly, exactly. That's, when people, oh, you shouldn't be charging for it. And then don't pay for it. And, with anything, people, oh, well, especially, with like, with a lot of the books and things that are coming out now. And, just with anything in life, check your sources, like do
yeah,
your research, look for social proof, look for that social proof online. Do they have a website? Do they have social media following? Do they have reviews?
yeah,
Before you plunk down money to get a reading from somebody, or to take a class from somebody, or to buy their book, check them out. I mean, you got Google
yes,
now. Check them out. Make sure that they're legit. They're not full of shit. Because and it's not exclusive to the witchcraft world.
that's with everything.
There are people full of shit all over the place. So
Yes.
you gotta trust your belly button. I always say she never lies to you. Trust your belly button, and just use your magic.
Yeah.
And follow, that's what your intuition is too. Your intuition is magic.
Yeah.
That's your magic power right there. So yeah, I always tell people, do your research. So
Yes. um okay, so I was wanting to ask you, do you do any work Because like I know that you had certain goddesses in your oracle deck. Do you
Yeah.
have like a certain like one specific goddess that you do work with or not really? Or
Not really. Just goddess. Again, I mean, I just this divine feminine energy is,
okay.
just the great goddess.
Yeah.
I would say more of a generic um term for I do feel more and more drawn to Hecate. I'm feeling a little, or the Morgan, like I'm starting to feel drawn again. I don't know if that's the shadow work that I'm doing. Um, Starting to be more drawn to that. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older and I'm just giving less of a fuck and just like really wanting to like go deep down, I deep down into the earth, almost like kind of bury myself down into the roots and kind of figure myself out a little bit more. And I feel like those two goddesses in particular could be very useful on that journey.
And
So,
correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't do any deity work. Like I'm just like I always tell people I'm out here just like reading cards and talking to plants. So isn't is Hecate, isn't she like all about like circle and like sisterhood and like
she is,
womanhood and
yeah, you'll see the labyrinth, like that's one of her, one of the symbols that you see associated with her a lot. She's like the goddess of witchcraft. She is the crossroads, key of wisdom, like all of these different, kind of big energy stuff, and she's really associated with Samhain with that time of year. So is the Morgan, which is a Celtic goddess. I don't know a super lot about them. This is just kind of a new thing in the last few months where I've been feeling kind of drawn towards them, and I'm want to get
yeah.
into learning more about them over the next few months, so that this coming Samhain I can really do it up big and and have a good time with them. So yeah, I don't have a particular deity that I work with, just
Okay, and so I just
yeah.
want to tell you guys also, don't ever be afraid if you have an interest in Hecate or you have an interest in, whoever it is, just because you're not an absolute expert, don't be afraid to say that you're interested in that or you're drawn to that or you're learning about that. There's this weird stigma, just it's exactly like when you wear a shirt that has a band on it and people are like, if you can't tell me every song that this band has ever done and all the lyrics to the song, then you can't wear the shirt. Well, it's a fucking shirt. So if I want to wear the Guns N' Roses shirt and I don't know all of the songs, I'm going to wear the shirt because I paid $3.99 for the shirt at the thrift store and I'm going to wear it. So like if you are also drawn to any of the gods, goddesses to do deity work and you're not an absolute expert, that's okay. Like
Okay.
it's everyone learns and starts and just yeah, it's okay to
Yeah.
be wherever you're at and be comfortable and be proud of it. Like it's completely fine.
Don't let people gatekeep your t-shirts.
Yeah, yes, and wear whatever the fuck t-shirts you want to wear. Like just wear them.
Everybody, and then drink your pumpkin spice. Who cares?
Yeah, do it. Do it.
No, exactly.
So I want to thank you so much for being here today. Before we go, do you have any learning resources, tips, books, anything like that that really helped you out on your path or even helps you today that you use or would recommend to people that are learning or wanting to learn?
Well, I mean, after the Satanic Bible, the next book that I got, it was a book called I still have it. It's called the Modern Witch's Spell Book. And it is I can't remember the woman's first name, but her last name I believe is Morrison. Again, this was published in the 70s. So it's a little out there by today's standards, but that was a big influence on me. And Laurie Cabot's book, Power of the Witch.
Okay.
That, it was Laurie Cabot. She's the Witch of Salem, the official Witch of Salem. And that Power of the Witch was a really big, and a couple of her other books were really big influences on me. And then of course, Buckland's Big Blue Book. I have that. I got the Lady Sheba Book of Shadows. I have, I'm looking at some modern books too, because I'm like, maybe I should see what the kids are talking about these days, kind of get up on things. And then when my friend told me about Wicca, she suggested some Scott Cunningham stuff. So I have like Wicca and Living Wicca, which I liked. I mean, some people don't like his stuff, but I really could feel his gentleness in those books. Like it made me go, oh, like this is, oh, this, I want to know more about this, kind of thing. So yeah, I would say Cunningham, if you're looking to have more of a structured religious path, I would say he's a good place to start. Because that's what I always tell people. I'm like, witchcraft is not a religion, it is a practice. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say those are like the backs on me where I'm at.
Okay. Yeah, I remember like when I first started and like long ago, I found this like someone had put all these older like Golden Dawn, Crowley, like some of the
Oh, real old
Egyptian
school.
like yeah, like books online. And so I went and I had to like I remember going, God, I don't even think they have these anymore, but like is it Radio Shack or like where the guy greets you and he's like, and I was like, I need the thing so I can store things from the computer
The
thing.
floppy disk.
Yeah. And so he like got me this thing. And so I like got all of these books and I still have them. I've had to like transfer them over to different devices, but like, holy man. So some of them are just, they're dense. They're dense
Yeah.
and they're like slow readers and there's a lot of information, but then it's like,
Yeah.
it's also written like not in super digestible like terms, like the older
Very
style.
esoteric and arcane.
Yes, yes. And so then like it was just a few years ago. I was like walking, I was waiting. I had a friend that was in the hospital. I was waiting. So I went in the bookstore and here I'm like, are these pink, sparkly with moons and stars? Like, what are these books? Like, these are witchcraft books? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, and here I like open them and they're super like nice big font and they're super readable and they're just like, you know what I mean? So yeah, I've got some of the old and I've got some of the new.
Yeah.
It's very different. So like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, even like some of my books, like Starhawk, like Spiral Dance, and Wild Witches Don't Get the Blues. Again, those things are from like the 60s and 70s. And that's, I mean, Golden Dawn is what, the 1860s, 1870s?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it's way old.
That's when people did seances, which are cool. And, it was all about mysticism. And I kind of dig that kind of stuff. That's kind of fun to me. But, yeah, it's interesting to see how it changes, but like I really think even though the delivery changes, I think the core remains the same.
Yes.
And that's that's the thing. It's like, how we're phrasing things and delivering things has changed, but the core of witchcraft is.
Yeah, and we just have a larger audience now. So,
Yeah.
which is exciting. And we welcome all new witches. I'm super excited about it. I will put all of Beth's information down below so you can connect with her on Instagram and for her goddess group and with Fundamental Magic, all the wonderful stuff that she makes. I super like your Hex the Patriarchy gear. That's like my favorite.
Oh. I just got new stickers in. I had a friend ask me if I had bumper stickers, and I was like, no, but I'm going to make some.
Oh, yay. That's amazing.
Those just arrived today, so I'll send you one.
Awesome. Yeah, I will. You guys, I'll put all of our information down below. Beth, again, thank you so much for joining us. This was amazing. And yeah, you guys, we'll see you back for another trial of witch hunts. So bye.
Bye.